Hi everyone, I'm Lily Rabe. Where do I even start? I'm 31 years old, doing really well in my marketing career, and I thought I had a handle on all my family drama. But everything changed when my little sister Maria started planning her wedding. I was there to help her plan her perfect day, but it became clear that things were going to be more complicated than I expected. The shadow of our dad, John, hung over everything. Ever since his divorce, he hasn't been the same. He's been struggling, sinking into a mess of alcohol and poor choices. One of the worst decisions, in my opinion, is his new girlfriend, Julie. From the moment I met her, I got bad vibes. One day, while Maria and I were picking out flowers, she turned to me, worry clear in her voice. "Liv, do you think Dad will actually show up sober?" she asked, her eyes filled with hope. "I really hope so, me," I said, trying to reassure her. "For your sake, I do." But deep down, I wasn't sure hope was going to be enough. As the wedding day got closer, I felt like I was less of a maid of honor and more of a referee, constantly trying to keep the peace. My boyfriend, Paul, was amazing through all of it. He'd always try to calm me down, saying things like, "Babe, you can't control everything." I know. I'd reply, though in my heart I couldn't stop worrying. But if Dad ruins this day for Maria, I'll never forgive him. Little did I know, things were about to get much worse. About a week before the wedding, I met up with my best friend Teresa for coffee. She's always been the voice of reason in my life, and I needed her more than ever. "What's really going on with you and Julie?" she asked, giving me a look that told me she already knew something was off. I lowered my voice, glancing around as if someone could overhear. "There's something not right about her, Teresa." The way she latched onto Dad so quickly, always whispering things to him. And get this, I overheard her talking on the phone about some big score coming up. Teresa's eyes widened. "You think she's scamming him?" "I don't know," I admitted. "But I'm going to find out." That conversation sparked something in me, and I couldn't let it go. I spent late nights scrolling through social media, making quiet phone calls to some of Dad's old friends, trying to put the pieces together. The more I looked, the more I felt like I was uncovering a puzzle that I wasn't sure I wanted to solve. The day before the wedding, Maria and I were at the venue making some last-minute checks when, suddenly, Dad and Julie showed up unannounced. "Daddy," Maria squealed, running over to hug him. I stayed back, watching closely. Julie's eyes were darting around the room, almost like she was checking everything out in a calculating way. Dad, on the other hand, slurred, "My little girl, all grown up," and my heart sank. He was already drunk. "John, darling, let's go check out the bar," Julie said smoothly, giving me a smug glance as they walked away together. I felt a surge of anger rise up in me, but I tried to keep it together for Maria's sake. Maria turned to me, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "Liv." I didn't let her finish. I pulled her into a hug, whispering, "Don't worry, sis. Tomorrow is about you and Brian. Nothing's going to ruin it." If only I had known how wrong I was. They say there's always a calm before the storm. Well, our storm was brewing, and it was about to hit with the force of a Category 7 hurricane. As I stood there, holding my baby sister Maria close, I made a silent promise to myself no matter what, I would protect her happiness. At the time, I had no idea that I'd be fighting for much more than just a perfect wedding day. The ceremony itself was beautiful. Maria looked absolutely radiant, and for a brief moment, all the family drama seemed to disappear. Standing beside her, watching her exchange vows with Brian, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could get through this day without any problems. I wanted so badly for Maria to have one perfect day. But that fragile hope was shattered the moment we walked into the reception. I saw him almost immediately, Dad, standing by the bar, already drunk, with Julie clinging to him like a lifeline. My heart sank. "You okay?" Paul, my boyfriend, whispered as he squeezed my hand, sensing my unease. "I've got to hold it together for Maria," I muttered, forcing a smile. But deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before something went terribly wrong. As the night wore on, the tension in the room became unbearable. Dad's laughter grew louder, his movements more and more sloppy. Julie's eyes kept scanning the room, a strange gleam in them that made my skin crawl. Something wasn't right, and I could feel it. "Liv, Dad's making a scene?" Maria whispered to me, her voice filled with worry. "I'll handle it," I said, trying to sound confident. I walked over to where Dad was attempting a very unsteady Macarena, stumbling and laughing like nothing was wrong. "Dad, let's get some fresh air," I suggested, trying to stay calm. "Nonsense," he slurred. "I'm celebrating my baby girl's big day." He tried to twirl, but nearly fell over. Julie appeared at his side, tightening her grip on his arm. "Leave him alone, he's having fun," she said sharply. "This isn't about fun. It's about showing respect for Maria on her special day," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Julie's eyes narrowed as she sneered. "You think you're so perfect, don't you? Always trying to control everything." The argument escalated quickly. We moved to a quieter corner of the room, but our voices kept rising with each exchange. "You don't know anything about our family." I spat at her, my patience gone. "I know one thing," she hissed. "Your daddy prefers my company over yours." Something inside me snapped. "Is that before or after you drained him of his money, Julie?" I shot back, my voice trembling with anger. Her face twisted with rage, and before I could react, she lunged at me, grabbing a knife from a nearby dessert table. For a moment, everything seemed to slow down. I saw the blade glint under the reception lights, heard people screaming, and felt my heart pounding in my chest. All I could think was, I've ruined Maria's wedding. But then, out of nowhere, Paul tackled Julie, sending the knife clattering to the floor. Chaos erupted around us. Guests screamed and scattered, chairs were overturned, and the whole scene became a blur of noise and movement. Through the mayhem, all I could focus on was Maria. How had it come to this? I had promised to protect her happiness, but now, her wedding day was turning into a nightmare. I saw Maria's horrified face as Brian held her back. Security rushed in, quickly restraining Julie as she screamed obscenities at anyone who came near. It was chaos. I stood there, frozen, as the police arrived and led Julie away in handcuffs. In that brief moment, I caught a glimpse of Dad. He looked completely lost and broken. That was when I realized things would never be the same again. The days following the wedding were a blur. Between police reports, interviews, and endless sleepless nights, I felt like I was living in a nightmare. Every little sound made me jump, and the image of Julie lunging at me with that knife replayed in my mind over and over. Paul, my rock through all of this, held me close whenever the nightmares hit. "You're safe now, Liv," he whispered, trying to comfort me. But feeling safe seemed impossible. How could I feel safe when my own father's girlfriend had tried to stab me at my sister's wedding? How do you even begin to recover from something like that? Maria, understandably, was a wreck when I visited her about a week after everything had happened. She couldn't even look at me. "All those months of planning," she said, her voice heavy with sorrow. "And for what? My wedding will always be remembered as the day someone tried to kill my sister." I'm so sorry," I started, guilt weighing heavily on me. She cut me off, shaking her head. "I know it's not your fault, Liv. But still, I can't help feeling like our family is cursed or something." While Maria was dealing with her pain, Dad was in complete denial. He called me constantly, leaving voicemails that made my blood boil. "Lily, sweetie, let's not blow this out of proportion," he'd say. Julie was just upset. She didn't mean any harm. Hearing him defend her like that, after everything she had done, was infuriating. The final straw came when he showed up at my apartment, reeking of alcohol. I opened the door to find him swaying slightly, his eyes glassy. "Dad, you need to leave," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "But Pumpkin, we're family. We need to stick together," he slurred, sounding pitiful. I felt something harden inside me as I looked at him. "No, Dad, we're done. I can't do this anymore." The hurt in his eyes almost made me waver. Almost. But as I closed the door, I knew it was the right thing to do. Meanwhile, Teresa, my ever-determined best friend, had started digging into Julie's past. What we uncovered left me speechless. "Liv, look at this," Teresa said one night, spreading papers across my coffee table. "July's got a record. Assault, fraud, you name it." I scanned the documents, feeling sick to my stomach. How did Dad not know about this? Teresa hesitated, biting her lip. "That's the thing, Liv. I think he did." The truth hit me like a ton of bricks. We found joint bank accounts, suspicious money transfers, evidence that Dad wasn't just a victim in all of this. He was an accomplice. Telling Maria what we discovered was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. We sat together in her kitchen, the wedding gifts still sitting in the corner, untouched. "I can't believe it," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "How could he do this to us? I don't even know him anymore." I didn't have an answer for her. I didn't know who Dad was anymore either. I spoke softly but firmly. "We need to protect ourselves now." Maria looked at me, her expression shifting to one of determination. "I'm with you, Liv." "Always," she replied. Despite her words, the guilt weighed heavily on me. I had exposed our father's crimes, and in doing so, I might have destroyed his life. But then again, hadn't he already done that to himself? The mix of anger, confusion, and guilt was too much for me to handle alone, so I decided to seek help. That's how I found myself sitting in a therapist's office, trying to make sense of it all. "Lily, it's normal to feel conflicted," my therapist, Dr. Jacob, reassured me during one of our sessions. "You've been through something traumatic. You're grieving the loss of the father you thought you knew." I stared down at my hands, feeling torn. But shouldn't I hate him after everything he's done? "There's no should when it comes to emotions," she explained kindly. "What's important is that you acknowledge how you feel and work through it." Working through it sounded easy, but it wasn't. Still, as I left Dr. Jacob's office that day, I felt a small glimmer of hope. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Maybe, just maybe, I could rebuild something positive from the ruins of my family's past. For months after the wedding disaster, I found myself in a place I never thought I'd be happy. Despite everything that had happened, I had a strong support system. Maria, Paul, Teresa, and I had become an unbreakable team. Our bond was stronger than ever. One night, while we were having dinner at my apartment, Maria raised her glass. "To new beginnings," she toasted. "And to family, the one we choose," I added, clinking glasses with my sister. The media was all over Julie's trial. It was a circus. Sitting in that courtroom, my stomach was in knots as Julie's true nature was revealed for everyone to see. Dad sat beside me, looking completely stunned as her history of crimes came to light. But the real shock was yet to come. Teresa and I had been working hard, gathering evidence of Dad's involvement in Julie's schemes. During the trial, our lawyer stood up and addressed the court. "Your Honor, we have documentation proving John Rabe involvement in Miss Blake's fraudulent activities." As the legal battle continued, my personal life took an unexpected turn for the better. My career started to take off. One Sunday afternoon, my boss called me into his office. "Lily, we're promoting you to Senior Marketing Director," he said with a smile. "Your resilience and creativity this past year have been outstanding." I left his office in a daze, immediately calling Paul to share the news. "Babe, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you," he exclaimed, excitement clear in his voice. Amidst all the chaos, Maria and Brian made a beautiful decision. They decided to renew their vows. This time, it was a small, intimate ceremony in their backyard, with only close friends and family. "Second time's the charm," Brian joked, making Maria giggle as they exchanged rings again. Watching them, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We were finally healing, all of us. Then, the day of Julie's sentencing arrived. The courtroom was filled with tension as the judge prepared to deliver the verdict. As I sat there, I reflected on how far we had come since that fateful wedding day. We had been through so much pain and betrayal, but somehow, we had made it through. We were stronger, and we were moving forward. It wasn't easy, but we had found our way back to each other. The storm had passed, and we were finally finding calm again. I stood up to deliver my victim impact statement, my hands shaking but my voice steady. "The scars from that night run deep," I began, but they've made me stronger. I looked directly at Julie, knowing this was my moment to reclaim my life. I'm here today not as a victim, but as a survivor. As Julie was led away in handcuffs, I felt a sense of closure. It was like a long and painful chapter of my life was finally coming to an end. The real celebration, however, came a month later. Maria, Brian, Paul, Teresa, and I were at my favorite restaurant, gathering to celebrate my promotion and everything we had overcome together. To Lily, Teresa raised her glass, her smile wide. The strongest person I know. I couldn't let her finish without adding, to all of us. I looked around at the faces of the people who had stood by me through the hardest year of my life, for proving that family isn't just about blood, but about loyalty and love. As we laughed and shared stories, I felt something shift inside me. I realized how much had changed. The past year had been like a nightmare, but in a strange way, it had also been a gift. It showed me who really mattered. It taught me how strong I could be. And it gave me the courage to cut out the negativity and toxic influences in my life. Sitting there, surrounded by real love and happiness, I knew that this was my happy ending. It wasn't perfect, and it came with its scars, but it was real. And that made it beautiful. For the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. I was grateful for the family I had found and the strength I had discovered within myself. So, that's where my story ends. But I'm curious about your thoughts. If you were in my shoes, would you have given your father another chance after everything he did? Or would you have kept those boundaries in place like I did? It's a tough decision, and I know many of you have faced similar struggles with toxic family members. I'd love to hear your experiences. Please share in the comments how you've handled difficult family dynamics in your own lives. If my story resonated with you, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more real-life stories and discussions about navigating complicated family relationships. Your support means so much to me, and it helps me continue sharing these personal stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.